What's up guys, this is Dino here, and today I'll be adding the next part to whatifash was black belt. This story has not been updated in a while, that was because of some poor views, but I have decided to continue this story unlike some of my other ones because I think this is really interesting and I can take this story to some topics and in a direction that can definitely draw in viewers, but that's not the point, it's about having fun. So the direction I'm taking this what if in will be a lot of fun. It will be fun for me to make, and I'm pretty sure that even if there are less viewers, the viewers who will watch this what if eventually, it will be fun for you to watch it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. The like goal for this is 10 likes in 12 hours. I don't think that's too much to ask. So with that all out of the way, let's dive right into the story. What if Ash was a black belt, part 3. In the last part, we witnessed Ash in an epic battle against the gym leader of Dewford Island, Brawly. After a competitive battle, Kupfu was able to edge out Makuhita. This victory put our hero in the great class ranking, and now we resume the story. Ash was in the midst of a sparring session against another one of Scott's recruits, named Astrid. Ralts was battling against the latter's young Absol. A Dark Pulse from the disaster Pokemon was countered by a disarming voice by Ralts, which got overpowered despite holding the type advantage. There was a clear difference in the firepower. Absol charged in with a Psycho Cut, which Ralts evaded using Double Team. Before they could collide once again, their battle was put on halt by the arrival of their sponsor/manager. Scott walked in and said that was enough for the day. The blonde recalled her Absol before smugly remarking that Ash was saved by his arrival before walking away. Ash wanted to say something back, but she was already gone by then. Scott remarked that Ash is getting better at battling with Ralts, but there is still a lot of room for improvement. The young black belt replies by saying it would have been a lot easier had Annabelle helped out with training Ralts. Scott reminds him that she is still busy with her own training and looking for other recruits. Speaking of which, he has an errand for Ash in the Sinnoh region. Professor Rowan has found an egg, which he suspects is somehow related to the mythical Pokemon Manaphy, but is afraid that some nefarious people may try to steal it. For that reason, he needs someone to guard the egg until it hatches. Ash asks him why doesn't he pick someone else from the Sinnoh region itself, but Scott shuts him down by saying that if Ash goes in there in person, that would give a positive message to the professor, and thus he may encourage the trainers from the Sinnoh region to take the Battle Frontier challenge instead of the Pokemon League challenge. Ash sighs at the mental gymnastics going on, but nonetheless agrees. Besides, he may get to challenge some really strong trainers while he's there. So after a rather scary flight the next day, Ash arrives in Sandgem Town Airport in the Sinnoh region. He spent the next few hours in the Pokemon Center dealing with the after effects of flying. He was getting used to it, but it was far from ideal. When he arrived at Professor Rowan's laboratory, he found two people waiting there. The boys introduced themselves as Lucas and Barry. Both of them were here to pick their starter Pokemons, and they both asked Ash if he was here to do the same, to which Ash replied by saying that he's here for some other business with the professor. He asked the two about which Pokemon they are going to pick. Barry was unsure. He liked all three, but Lucas had made up his mind on Turtwig, as it would help him to clear the first gym with some ease, and grass types are ideal for newbie trainers. Ash remembers reading this somewhere in a book back in the Battle Tower. Soon the professor arrived and apologized for the delay in the most formal manner possible. He asked Ash if he was sent by Scott, to which he nodded. He told Ash to wait for a few minutes as his assistant should be here with the egg in a while. He then turned to Lucas and Barry and asked if they have decided on their Pokemon, and Lucas nods before stating his choice, and to his delight he received a healthy Turtwig as his starter. After some thinking, Barry decided to go with the Piplup. Rowan picks up the final Pokeball containing the Chimchar and looks at Ash before asking if he would like to raise it. Ash is confused as to why he would give him a starter Pokemon when he's not even beginning his journey, and the old man responds by saying it's the least he can do and there are no other trainers to arrive, so the Chimchar would be better off with Ash instead of waiting around in the lab. After some thinking, Ash agrees to accept the Chimchar and lets it out of the Pokeball. As soon as the monkey is let out, it starts to wreck the lab and jump around before stealing Ash's black belt and running around with it. Ash chases after it, and after having finally gotten his black belt back and subdued the highly energetic chimp, who was still happily jumping on his head, he was challenged to a battle by Barry. Barry said that he wanted to test his starter right now, and it would make the most sense to do it against a trainer with battling experience. Ash looked at the Chimchar, who jumped off his head and prepared for the battle. And thus the battle began. Ash orders a scratch attack and Barry orders a peck. It is evident that Chimchar is faster, but Piplup is the bulkier of the two and can take more shots. So Ash orders Chimchar to focus more on dodging Piplup's attack in order to tire it out. And although it's difficult for the chimp to follow such complex instructions right from the start, it is able to follow it somewhat and evade most of Piplup's attack, and eventually the penguin gets tired and is taken down by multiple scratch attacks and Ember. Barry is not disappointed in the slightest and thanks Ash for the battle before departing. Lucas compliments Ash's battling strategy and hopes to meet him again someday before he leaves as well. Soon after, a girl arrives carrying a blue egg with her. She apologizes to Rowan for the delay and introduces herself as Dawn, the professor's assistant. Rowan said it was quite alright and examined the egg before handing the incubator back to Dawn. He said that by his approximations, a trip to Canelev City would be enough for the egg to hatch. So with that, they set off on their journey. Dawn asked Ash if he wanted to take the gym badge challenge, and Ash replied by saying that he plans on becoming the strongest trainer and bring pride to his dojo, but gym challenge is not the only path. He asked Dawn if she has a goal of her own. Dawn replies by saying that she plans on becoming a Pokemon coordinator and win the grand festival someday, but she also wants to learn more about Pokemon in general. So that's the reason she works as Professor Rowan's assistant, as there is a lot to learn from him. The next day, as they are passing through a forest, they are confronted by a group of men who seem to be wearing some sort of armor. Ash has no clue who they are, but Dawn tells him that they are part of Hunter J's squad and they are here for the egg. The men confirm her suspicions as they sent out a Crobat and a Graveler and warn them to hand over the egg without violence or they would pay for it. Ash tells Dawn to stay back and protect the egg as he sends out Kapfu and Ralts. A battle broke out between them as Kapfu landed a karate chop on Graveler and Ralts used Psychic on the Crobat, and both were super effective attacks and pushed back the goons. However, they were too smart to play the game of disadvantage and switched targets immediately, with Crobat attacking Kapfu and Graveler proving to be too much of a wall for Ralts. The bat Pokemon dives in with a Brave Bird attack, heading straight for Kapfu, but Ash sent out his Aron to block the attack. With Aron on their side, Ash's Pokemon began to gain the upper hand once again, but the goons sent out a pair of Metang, one of which attacks Kapfu with a Zen Headbutt, causing a lot of damage, and the other knocks Ralts off with an Iron Head. Before it could connect with another Iron Head on Ralts, Dawn sent out her Prin Pulp, who used a water gun to blast it away. Both Ash and Dawn realize that these goons are really strong, and they need to synergize their attacks. And now finally having a grasp of their strength and the moves used by the goons, they are able to knock out a few of their Pokemon, but just then they are all blasted by a Dragon Pulse, which hits Kapfu head on, damaging it really badly. As they recover and get up, they see a Salamence with a lady on top of it. Dawn tells Ash that she is the leader, Hunter J, one of the most dangerous criminals of the Sinnoh region. Jay tells them to hand over the egg peacefully or face the consequences, but Dawn was prepared for a situation like this and orders Prin Pulp to use a mist attack, which acts as a cover while they escape to a nearby bush. The goons asked Jay what they should do, to which the hunter replied by saying she knew how to lure out the prey from its hiding spot very well. Ash and Dawn were hiding under some trees while trying to think of an escape plan. The Salamence was hovering above them in a frightening pace, looking for them. It was evident that Jay was too strong for them to beat, especially now that Kapfu was injured. Before they could discuss anything else, the dragon Pokemon start to rain down flamethrower attacks all over the forest, igniting the trees and the plantation around them. Ash was shocked at the outright destructive approach that Jay was taking, but Dawn told him that Jay was sadistic enough to burn the egg, the forest and all the Pokemon down just to achieve her objective. Despite knowing very well that using a water gun would give away their hiding spot, they had to take the risk. Prinpal fired a water gun all over the forest, extinguishing the flames, and now with most of the thick trees being burned down, Jay spotted them as she descended. Dawn sent out a Munchlax, and Ash sent out Aaron once again. They were not going down without a fight. The Salamence blasted at them with a Dragon Claw, almost knocking both of them out at the same time. But this was a distraction, as Ralts and Prinpulp used Disarming Voice and Ice Beam at the dragon, causing a lot of damage. But even this was not enough to take it out. Salamence used Flamethrower and Dragon Claw to blast Ralts and Prinpulp away as it closed in on Ash. Just then, the Chimchar let itself out of his Pokeball, ready to defend its trainer, and blasted the Salamence with an Ember attack. The attack barely phased Salamence, as it charged forward with a Dragon Claw once again, but this was stopped by something. Ralts was using Psychic to block Salamence with every last bit of its energy. As the dragon started to break free, Ralts began to glow in a response to the adversity. It evolved into Killia. A powerful burst of psychic energy sent Salamence crashing back. Ash, realizing the chance he has, orders a Disarming Voice, but to his shock, Killia unleashed a much more powerful fairy move, which the Pokédex read as Dazzling Gleam. This blinding attack was enough to knock Salamence out, but Killia was barely standing, having exhausted almost all of its energy. Jay commended them on the attack, but said it wouldn't make a difference regardless. As she sent out a Drapion, but before the Drapion could attack, Steelix emerged from the ground, standing between Jay and the heroes. On top of the Steelix stood a rugged-looking man with a shovel in his hand. He warned Jay that this is not a battle she wants to fight. Jay, realizing the truth, retreats for now, but promises to come back for the egg. The man introduces himself as Byron and tells the duo that since he was nearby, Professor Rowan asked him to give them some company back to Canalev City. Ash and Dawn were relieved to have gotten some assistance, as they were definitely on the losing side here. After a while, the newly formed trio arrived at Jubilife City, where Ash and Dawn heal their Pokemon and rest up. As they are about to depart, a purple-haired boy stops them in their tracks. As he stares down Ash, he introduces himself as Paul and requests Ash for a Pokemon battle. He states that he has 2 flying-type Pokemon in his team right now, and the perfect way for him to test them is to battle against a black belt. Ash is more than happy for a battle, as they make their way to the battleground behind the Pokemon Center. Ash sends out his Kubfu, and Paul is surprised to see this Pokemon and asks more about it. He then sends out his Murkrow to battle it. Both Pokemon trade blows, with Kubfu's attack having more of an impact and Murkrow adjusting by keeping its distance in the air, but this does not last for long, as it is sniped down with a Rock Tomb, which takes it out, and in a relatively one-sided battle. Paul recalls Murkrow and sends out a Gligar. Ash recalls his Kubfu and sends out his Chimchar to test out its strength, as this would be a really good first test for Chimchar. Chimchar uses a Scratch, which Gligar easily avoids, before diving in with a Fury Cutter. Chimchar is able to dodge by somersaulting backwards and firing an Ember, which Gligar in turn dodges, but is caught with a Scratch attack. Paul remains unfazed and orders Gligar to use an Iron Tail, which smacks Chimchar straight in the head, almost knocking it out. Chimchar, however, gains back its footing and fires off another Ember attack, but this time Gligar counters it with a Sand attack. The Sand attack covers Gligar's movement as it dives in with another Fury Cutter, and another and another. This accumulation of attacks is able to knock Chimchar out. Ash recalls Chimchar, impressed with his performance. Paul, on the other hand, takes out the Pokeball containing the Murkrow and releases the Crow Pokemon back into the wild. Biden asks Paul why would he do that, and Paul replies by saying he only has room for 1 flying type in his team, and now that he knows which one is the stronger one, there is no point in keeping the weakling. Ash remarks by saying that that's a pathetic way of thinking as a Pokemon trainer. Some Pokemon are slow learners. That does not mean that they are never going to get stronger, and if Paul is stupid enough to realize, then the only weakling here is himself. Paul smirks at the speech, saying that they will meet again soon, and next time they will battle for real before he leaves. And guys, that's where I'll be ending this part. Thank you for watching. I don't know if it was relatively shorter, but I wrote about 4 pages. I think that 4 pages amount to about 16 minutes or so. And one more thing that I would like to ask, please let me know in the comment section if I speak too fast or too slow. I will try to improve on that. So thank you for watching guys. God bless.